but we're still lacking. Whether you have someone reporting to an individual who has shared, I'm too busy, I have too many duties with the chamber, with the Visitors Bureau, with the revolving fund, with updating kiosks, I'm just too busy. That does not give me any sense of consolation that you're ready to manage another position. It doesn't give me any understanding that if you already have time constraints with your current workload, are you going to accept another person and then want them to have a certain level of education and criteria? The lack of communication that has continued to happen, even in our last meeting, was brought to our attention that the executive board didn't know some things were happening. That doesn't bring me any level of consolation that you're ready to add another person. But what we do know we need is a marketing person. We need a marketing professional to help this city stay and maintain and grow. We don't have that. And if we're ready to have that discussion, I'm ready to talk some more. But other than that, this budget, this $219,000, says you want $219,000. The administration fees are already in there. The branding, of course, that's exempt, and it's supposed to go up, I believe, by another $2,000 or so for the other portion. The membership dues, that's nice. That's going to be back out of that. The tourism conferences, I think we've educated enough people. It's time to produce. That's my spiel question.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lockhart.
So what does that mean? That means $219,000.
And there's more.
$219,000 is what you're saying that we want. We've already said we get $219,000. What we're talking about now sounds like it's who originally the question was posed to us tonight was it who's going to manage the position. And the position needs to have an official job description, and I prefer to have a HR professional review that and provide us with that. So I think Ms. Shields should be able to provide us with a job description for a marketing professional. And that should be in that database pool. That's not hard to pull.
Thank you.
Okay, and I understand
Councilwoman
Ms. Shields. Are you suggesting that
Since we have access to the NeoGov system does populate various job descriptions. So you don't have to create one. It already is one that exists. So it should be a matter of accessing that account and typing in that job description, and it should pre-populate what a marketing professional is. Not a marketing and a tourist, but a marketing professional.
My question is where you don't care where the position is, whether it's in house at the chamber of the city.
I do.
That's what I want to clarify.
I do. Did you hear me earlier? I'm sorry. Let me share what you did.
No, I heard you before, but today you complicated a little bit for me this evening.
Okay.
Because you said the 219 and the 55 was in the 219.
Yeah, that's part of it. But one of the portions that we mentioned in our last discussion was that we knew that this 55 was pretty much a salary. But attached to the salary, the person was going to need resources in order to enable them and empower them to do their job. So that's where these other line items come into play. What percentage is that? 10% of the promotional items? And we left with that discussion saying we were going to give them access to it, which meant that they needed it because although they were being managed by one particular department, the funds are still allocated. The function is still the same. It has to do with the level of management that is accurate, that knows and does communicate, and is willing to.
So what we've said essentially is that 219, 505, we have the consensus that is the budget approved amount, and who will manage that is yet to be determined. Perhaps we can go around the room and we'll find out. Let me just say this, the Director of Tourism right now today officially is the President of the Chamber of Commerce, Janet Jackson. That is the Director of Tourism. we are talking about dollars that are restricted in how we can use it. I want to leave you with one question that I think we ought to ask ourselves when it comes to deciding this. Where did this money come from? How was it created? Did we create this money? In our positions? I think we all had some influence, certainly on the infrastructure basis, certainly on tax abatement. We are very pro-business. And we are very pro-business so that it creates jobs. So we provided incentives for some of these hotels. And it compelled them to build here. But who produced those dollars? I think if you ask that question, it'll be easier for you to form what your decision is. That's just my opinion.
Well, in addition to that, one other element that, as you were listening,
yes,
that was missed, respectively, Mayor, is that of the staff. Our staff, the Park and Rec, has done an outstanding job to put hotels and beds, get conferences here. Even the staff person that actually does go and travel, as if they're a part of tourism.
yeah. Well, yeah, that is certainly true and a fact that we have generated a lot of business here. And I would be remiss to not also point out that we have a stellar city manager in Dr. Richardson. We have seen transformational changes in our fund balances and our finance. We have seen, we can measure the results, and our bond rating has improved. In many cities across the nation, their bond ratings have not improved. They've taken the other direction. So that's encouraging. We know that we've got the team here.
Mayor, the issue really isn't where the money comes from, it's who the money belongs to. And that money belongs to the citizens of DeSoto, Texas. And the 7 of us sitting here, we're the stewards of that money with the obligation to see that it is used in the most effective manner. And, you know, if we're gonna chase this thing to ground, we're gonna have to decide what is the highest, best, and most effective use of that money for the citizens of DeSoto, most of whom don't even know who we are.
Councilman Rescos, I would agree with you if we were talking about sales tax, we were talking about property tax, but the state of Texas has mandated that these funds are restricted. And so we don't have this option that you're talking about
No,
to spend.
I didn't say that. Within the restrictions the state puts on us, we still have to make sure that we use these funds in the highest and best manner.
That's right.
But that money belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to us. We're just the stewards of it. And that's where our decision has to come from. What's the best use of that money?
And keep in mind, it is for tourism.
That's right.
Good heads and beds. And that's,
For the benefit of the general community, which is the citizens.
yeah. I'd love to take the funds and put them in the community.
Well, we don't have carte blanche
We don't have that.
No.
on that, and we understand that. I think everyone on the sound of our voices understand that. The challenge here is really the function that we have, the function of the new employee should be defined, and they should be managed by an organization that has proven themselves to be credible, and that's where I struggle.
Well, as you said on my soapbox, I think I'm in the camp of Councilwoman Lockhart and Councilwoman McCallum. We're saying different things, but I think we share very common concerns.
Yeah, I think it's duly noted, and it's also, I think around this room, we certainly have some concerns that we have. Now, there are 2 folks that really haven't chimed in much at all on this, and that's Councilwoman Ledbetter and Mayor Pro Tem Wellington. So, Council, let's hear what they've got these pearls of wisdom that we want to share with us.
He wants you on his side. Go ahead, Patricia, I see next to you.
Well, I hope so. Because you know if you sit anywhere else, you'll be in trouble.
Well,
I don't think that I've changed my thoughts on that. I truly believe that we need to go forward, and we've talked about branding, and keeping it at the chamber makes sense to follow that plan. I hear some concerns though about the budget, but we've had those concerns over the past couple of years. But tonight, I don't think that I have to make sense of the 219 because that's already been decided. My understanding was to come and decide, do we want it there or do we want it here? And I think for the next budget year, I'd like to see it stay at the chamber. Now, that does not mean that I have 2 more years on the council. That should we see a need, like you said, to add somebody here to complement that, I think that that's obviously doable too. Should the money be there? So, for tonight's purpose, I vote for it to stay at the chamber.
Well, okay, and we'll get to that, and if somebody makes a motion, we will get to that.
And may I also just clarify again for the record,
Consensus?
that the budget amount has not been approved. It has been presented to council. It will be approved with the entire city budget at the September 18th meeting.
And that's always the process. We can never do voting on the budget during the budget meeting, but we do take a consensus so that we know as we take the bites, from this budget, we look at every aspect of this budget. By the time we get to the day that we vote on it, then everybody's got a clear mind and a clear understanding of what we want. So we took a consensus on it because legally we cannot take a vote on it.
And I understand that, and for purposes of what's posted, it's to decide where it should be. And I know that you talked about budgets and numbers, and I understand that. But I also know that we've talked about our retreats, DeSoto being the destination, the vision for that, and that we want to be branded, we want to move forward in having a marketing person. And I don't want to be in transition. I don't want to start all over. I want to be moving forward and not backward. And that's how I view that, by just calling a halt to it and saying, shift it over here.
Your marketing person still can do the function, no matter where they're at. The job duty doesn't change. It's just who do they report to? They report to a person. It's just the management. And that management being able to report back to an entity who they report to in another fashion.
And you envision on reporting to Dr. Richardson?
I'm envisioning reporting to someone within the city.
I
That
still would
knows,
like it to stay.
that's it's either on the managing director or higher level.
All right, very well. Mayor Pro Tem Young,
I have really appreciated the conversations that we've had tonight because I have been with, as in my my sign is Libra, I've been weighing the sides. And I want to thank you, Councilwoman Lockhart, because the bottom line for me is, do I want a tourism person or do I want a marketing person? And I want a marketing person. When we were in the retreat, we talked about this at Nonia. At 80% occupancy, if I had to choose between whether I wanted somebody to sell rooms or sell my city, we don't need this person as bad as we do the other. And so, since the chamber has convinced me that these are two different duties. A tourism person is not the same as a marketing person. I want the marketing person. So what that means in terms of what we do with this budget, I do not want to see $55,000 go for tourism sales. And I do want to see something happen over here at the city for a marketing person. We have been clamoring for 2 years, maybe even longer than that, for a marketing person. Councilwoman Lockhart and I have seen in several cities what that person can do for that city, and that's what I want. I don't, you know, somewhere down the road, we may need somebody to sell rooms. I don't want somebody to sell rooms. I want somebody to sell DeSoto, and it could be to Oklahoma, it could be to Dallas, it could be to Red Oak, it could, you know, Waxahachie. I need somebody to sell this wonderful place we have. So that's where I stand.
The challenge will be whether the state will allow us to use these proceeds for that purpose.
No, I did
I'm
not
not
say
sure.
that I wanted the $55,000 from the tourism fund to fund that person. I did not say that, because that is a question, another piece of information, as you know, as you were saying, that we don't have, as well as who the person would be reporting to, description, and all that kind of stuff. All of those things. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that on the tourism fund that is currently set up for the chamber, I do not want to see a tourism sales director. That's what I'm saying.
You just want to pull that money out of the 219, and you allocate for some other tourism project, whether it be...
Or it could be in the fund balance. I don't need a tourism sales director as badly as I need a city marketing person that combines the needs of the city from EDC, Parks and Rec, Arts Commission, Historical. I need that. That's my thing.
Yeah. We, okay, so we'll venture out here and see if we can get a motion.
I'm confused. I'm sorry.
We are, you know, we're in a city with 642 rooms. We do that very well. I'm not an economist, but I think you have to sell what you have too, until you reach that equilibrium where it creates this sustainable revenue for our city. So.
Before we take a nod or whatever we're going to do, I'm confused by what you're saying. Are you saying, just so I understand,
Yeah, sure.
if you vote, if you nod or wave or whatever we're going to do,
Vote.
okay, if you vote so your vote is to have no marketing person out of these funds?
No.
Okay, that's why I'm confused. So
Okay,
I
my vote
understand.
is to not have a tourism sales director.
So,
That budget line.
And that's what the budget line item is asking for.
so you would...
That is the job description that has been given to us by the CEO, whose main objective is to sell rooms in the city and to go out and bring conventions in. I think we need one, but not as badly as we need a marketing.
So if you voted yes, or if you voted no, I understand.
Depends on what the motion.
There's no
Okay.
motion on the table.
I know. What I want to say is that I want to make sure I understand. If the motion was to let's say I made a motion.
Okay.
The motion was to approve the budget, put the tourism director into the chamber. You're against that?
Absolutely.
Against it? Okay.
Okay, I think that was pretty, that's pretty clear.
That's I understand.
Yeah.
if the motion was to, so what would you do with the 55,000? Do we have any kind of restriction? Can we reallocate that money if we need to?
We haven't allocated
It's
it
not been
anywhere.
allocated. This is
I thought we,
just all
I
around.
thought we,
We didn't really
Approve the
approve,
budget.
we just kind of put a nod and said, we put a tick mark and we
We
said.
earmarked that dollar amount.
There you go.
Okay.
We earmarked the
earmarked
dollar
it.
amount to say,
So we
this is
can,
what we think we want to allocate to that particular.
we have the ability of the council to take that to $55,000 if we want to.
and have another discussion at
And
another
review.
time
Okay.
on how
Well,
we
wait a minute,
use it.
his time out. Is the motion here, I mean, the thing that we would act on tonight would be to either accept or deny the chamber's budget as submitted. And if we denied it, then we could meet and decide what we wanted to do, you know, later. But to me, that's the thing. We can either accept the chamber's budget or deny it as submitted. And if we deny it, then we would have to meet in the future and decide what we want to do about it.
We can
Reallocation of that
amend
money.
it too, we can amend it, we have the authority to
Yes.
amend the dollar amount.
Well, but for further clarification, it is actually to vote whether to approve that the chamber would continue to be our CBB bureau. So
Submitted
that's,
budget.
Yeah, it's not
right.
If we deny the budget, we've pretty well done that. I mean, we can, however you want to couch the words, if we give them no money, you know, if we say we're not going to accept the budget, then we're saying we're not going to give them the money to fund the budget, and, you know, that's pretty well denied them that function. So, and I'm just looking at the way the thing is worded.
yeah. And I think what we have is some interest, dual interest here. We have been staving off getting a marketing person for so many years. And we want one now. And what we also have to deal with is this revenue that we see is to be used for tourism. So do we, on one hand, approve them having someone that the Hotel Association is a part of that interview process, that's ensuring that they've got someone who is tied in to these affinity groups, working on that behalf, and then also have a marketing person that the city would have to market the brand. But keep in mind, it's going to take a little time for us to become that point of destination. It's not built overnight, so.
What's good, well,
Now we can,
Well, one may ask, what are they marketing? So.
I have a motion. Mayor, please.
Did you have any clarification?
Okay, I thought it was finished. I move to approve $102,103 for the FY13 budget by for DeSoto Chamber of Commerce, working as Convention and Visitors Bureau.
And I don't mean to interrupt you.
That's my motion.
I have to respectfully inject here that we are not approving budgeted amounts, as we are going to do that at the end of our budget workshops. And so we've already done consensus on them. And really, the item, as I understand it here, is to vote on approving whether the DeSoto Chamber of Commerce.
It's been submitted budget, Mayor. It's what the agenda.
Right, but the budget, we can't take one entity's budget and set it aside from all the other budget items that we approve altogether.
But I,
Yes, you can.
When,
The budget can be changed up until the time that you adopt it on
Right,
September
right.
15th. So
But-
you can change any numbers that you all have had consensus on.
well, but it would only be to take a consensus. We can't vote on it.
This evening,
You can vote on changing.
We can vote on
Yes.
that, but not a budgeted amount, that's my understanding.
Yes,
Yes.
we
you
were
can.
gonna vote on that.
Yes, you can.
If they submitted it, so that, and I had looked at that.
And may I clarify the posting? The posting states the fiscal year 13 submitted budget by the DeSoto Chamber of Commerce, working as Convention and Visitors Bureau. They are the CVB entity that has submitted the budget. It's not approving the Chamber of Commerce's budget. That was listed there for clarification in deference to Ms. Valentine.
Okay.
Is the CVV a legal entity, or is it a DBA for the Chamber of Commerce?
It's not a DBA.
Well,
Now, what is it?
let the record show that since I've been on this council, we've never done that. So that's the reason I brought up the concern, is that we've always, our attorney has always advised us that we can only do a consensus during this process. And
It was posted to discuss and consider, so you may take a vote to see.
and I think that it is confusing the way we actually have it all put in there as budget and conventions and visitors. So,
I'd like to ask if it would be clear for you, Mayor, if we just did a consensus at this time. Would that make it
well, just,
consistent?
you know, I mean, from a legal standpoint, that's my concern.
Okay.
You know, we've never done it.
Done what?
We've never taken a vote on a
So,
budget amount.
We could,
From our motion guide.
we could,
No?
No, some
You
did.
made your motion.
Still kicking and blocking.
Is there a second?
I have a question. Can I ask you a question? Can you explain to me where the 102, or what the number is, where is that coming from?
The 219,
Okay.
minus 62.4, minus 55.
Okay, that's what confused me. How would bring the 62.4 in there? I'm confused by that.
And I explained why it was early on.
you just vote, you can
Yeah,
just vote
okay,
yes or no.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was my reasoning.
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Well, there was a lot of discussion. I told you I had a headache. Share with you. For you, teacher.
The motion was to approve the FY13 budget in the amount of $102,103 for the DeSoto Chamber of Commerce working as Convention and Visitors Bureau.
So, okay, just for clarification, 102,000 and for them working as CBD.
Working as CDD. I just used the same wording here to change the amount.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, that amount is less the rollover from last year
Right.
and the tourism sales recommended 55K.
Yes.
What happens to the balance of the money then?
Well, there's a motion. Second.
Can we have discussion?
Yes.
Okay, would you have any consideration in changing your motion, changing the dollar amount of your motion? Or are you
It
flat
could be amended. I mean, that was just for purposes
of moving on?
well, and the rationale that I
Okay,
considered in coming up with that amount.
Kirsten, where did you get the 64? Where does that number
62.
come from? Or 62, whatever that number is. What document produces that number? Because I don't have that document anywhere.
We have a lot of papers. Here it is.
That was the prior meeting in which they requested allocation. Pay those papers.
because Councilwoman Cowan,
Yes.
the dollar amount is the part of your motion that I disagree with. What I would like to see is that the budget for the CVB be approved minus the 55,000.
And then deal with the, okay.
Right, and so if you would consider changing your motion, or we can go ahead and vote as we want to. But this is our discussion portion, so I'm just saying that.
I am in
Councilwoman Cowan, are you open to amending?
I am open to amending it as long as we're going to have a discussion about the other amount.
Okay,
All right, can somebody show me where this number comes from? Because it doesn't correspond to anything I can see on this sheet.
So,
And I think the numbers on this sheet are wrong.
okay, well.
If you add them up, you can do the math yourself here at the bottom line.
She
Okay,
has amended her motion to not include that number.
right.
All right.
But does she have to reconsider her second?
Yes.
Yes.
She's
Your,
amended.
your new number for the record is 164,505. 164.
Right, okay, that's right.
And the 164,505, the condition that we discuss the amount that's in question at another time.
Okay.
55.
No, 62.
No, I'm.
Oh, the other 62. Okay, I'm with you. All right.
Or whatever that amount turns out.
Okay, I think,
Councilwoman Lockhart, are you in favor of that amendment?
I heard amendment, but we're doing you're suggesting 164, and you come up with 164.
505.
Okay.
That's from subtracting the 55.
Oh, okay, that's fine too.
So, second, the amended,
So tell me where the amended number comes from one more time.
We took out the 62 until, with the condition that we discuss it.
It's 219 minus 55.
So it's,
So you took 55 out of the 219,505,
yes,
and that's it.
yes.
that's it.
And the motion is that that number is to be presented to the chamber to run this function.
Yes, sir.
So basically, they're right back where they were this year, no person and the full budget.
And that's what I said originally, and if there's gonna be a discussion about the other position, we need time to do that.
Well, actually, they're not back where they were. It's not, the 2012 budget was 215,000.
No, I didn't mean they were back where they were, that we were, as in the discussion.
We just took out that amount because the equivalency in the 12 budget, Jazz Fest used up about as much money as, and that was a one-time event.
But their budget, their budget of 219
Yeah.
was predicated based upon some assumptions of a marketing tourism director. And they lowered some other expenses or some other dollars to accommodate that. So what we're doing is should we give them a chance to address that issue as far as the chamber? Because wasn't that budget of 219, if you look at this, they lowered printing, they lowered promotion materials, they lowered printing advertising, they lowered electronic advertising, they lowered tourism conferences, they lowered professional fees, they lowered membership dues. I think those being lowered, but the cost of the tourism director, the tourism marketing person. I don't want to hurt their budget so severely.
Do you want to simply, I mean, it looks to me like it'd be simpler if we simply denied the budget they submitted with the knowledge that we want to take that 55 out, let them submit something else.
the council, what's on the floor at this time is a motion to approve the budget with 55,000 taken out, equating to 164,505. It's been seconded by Councilwoman Lockhart. If there's no further discussion,
Since we decided we do not want to have a director of tourism, what would we think about using some of that 55,000 for, promoting the city in other projects, using tourism dollars for heads and beds? So we eliminate the position of tourism director. Okay, we know we don't want that. We know what we want is a marketing director in the city of DeSoto. We know that.
Very good, James.
For the record, though, there has not been a vote.
Okay, whatever back to the not vote. But can we have a discussion of the possibility, or consider, before you all vote, I want you all to consider maybe using part of the $55,000? Because if we take the $55,000 away from them, what do they have to promote?
Well, you have 100 and, what is the dollar amount? 64?
64.
You have 164K to work with.
But we've
And,
only-
let
I'm
me
sorry,
finish.
sorry.
You have $164,000 plus to work with. All of these numbers, you've already heard that these budgets that come to us are guesstimates. They have not used a systematic mathematical equation to come up with a budget. So all of these numbers are just that. They're just numbers. So they have 164K, was supposed to be presented, to figure out where they need to best allocate, and which line item they can use it for.
So are we gonna cut, because look at the budget, they're lowering printing materials from 15 to 7, promotional materials from 16 to 5, printing advertising from 20 to 13, electronic advertising from 24 to 14, tourism from 8 to 2, special fees from 4 to 2, and membership dues from 12 to 9. So they already cut their budget significantly to accommodate a marketing director,
Well,
a tourism director. So why not allow them to have some of the money back to use it to do the things we want them to do, what they did last year?
Okay,
Because in
council,
2012
if you will permit, this will be the last
Okay.
discussion we have on this matter, and we will respect that there's a motion and a second on the floor. Though it may not be, the way that you'd like it to go, we still have to make a vote. So, all right.
And our 2012, when 2012 budget, this budget, we approved, allowed to be reallocated. So just because these numbers are here, doesn't mean anything. Okay? You've already seen an overage, underage, some shortages, some plus and delta, all of those things. What's different is, this is just a guess. They told you that. So if they need with 164K, that's enough to do what needs to be done when it's already 8%. And if it has not been, then there's some other ways that they can actually generate income. There are many chambers that do a lot of fundraising activities, things of that nature.
Okay. All right, council, just for clarification on the motion that was made, it's a motion to approve by Councilwoman McCowan, $164,505, and working, the DeSoto Chamber of Commerce, working as the C&D Bureau. Is that what you
Yes.
stated?
Yes.
Okay. And the second was made by Councilwoman Walker. Okay. All right, let's take a vote. Call for a vote, okay. City Secretary is anticipating that there may be a little difference in the vote. So all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay. All those opposed? That motion fails. Okay. Thank you, council. I really appreciate that. Now, we can further discuss this and see where we go from here, because I think there are some other opportunities that were presented.
Well, let me try one, and with clarification. I would simply like to move that we deny the budget as submitted. That does not mean that I think there's consensus here that we want to move this question about where we want to house that function or what we want that function to be. I share that. I just don't want to put a number. I mean, I could even buy into the motion that we went in for, but I don't want to lock in a number on it. We would, I would ask that the chamber submit a new budget, between now and the time we codify the full city budget, and we go over it again, and maybe we'll have a better fix on it, because we're really not going to settle anything tonight. I think generally we're uncomfortable with that position being in the chamber. We're uncomfortable with the definition of that position. And I'm personally uncomfortable with putting a hard number, to a vote, when I don't really know how this is going to shake out. So, that being said, let me try. I can't do any worse than we've already done. I move that we deny the budget as been submitted by the chamber.
What
Okay.
do you need to shake out?
Council, hold just one second. Our city manager has a comment. Dr.
When are
Richardson.
y'all planning to do this? Because we gotta get this budget done. I mean, we've not done our part. We keep being held up because it is part of the budget.
Well, we could always, amend it. I
That's
mean,
what
you
I've
have
been
a
saying.
number, 219.
That's what I've been saying for the longest time.
Yep.
We have 219. We can always come back and amend the budget. Dina's been saying that. So what do you want to do? I mean, we need some direction because.
Well, if I had to make a definitive action tonight, I would vote to give it to you. The whole taco, the 219 and the whole responsibility.
Well, could I just say, Sandy, the 164,505, and I know I'm not gonna keep saying this, but if you deduct 62.4 from 215,088 from last year, the balance would be 152,688. And so, again, just like they could come back and reallocate it, but that motion has failed, and I know it has. But that, again, that was the point. They still would have had more money to work with
Than
this
last
year.
year.
Than last year.
Than the
previous year.
actuals from last year.
Than the actuals, that's right.
2013 more than 2012.
It would have, that 164,505 was more than, if we had allowed them to begin work. I mean, we need, the work has to go on, and the budget has to be done. And so we were trying to find a way to move this down the road.
So you still have a motion, second? No, he hasn't made a motion.
He hasn't made it yet.
Did
We
you
have
have?
to give some direction.
Well, the only thing, if I make a motion, the only one I can think of is simply to deny the budget submitted by the chamber. So I'll make that motion and see what happens.
Wait.
You know, what Councilwoman Lockhart is trying to achieve is trying to find a motion that is palatable for one more person on this council. And so, in order to get that vote, and so we certainly don't want to go through, you know, the exercise of futility by just putting motions out there that are not gonna.
Right, I'm trying to find what you're saying. What is it that you're saying you need to see? What is it? You're saying you need something vetted out, so what is it
Yeah,
that you need to?
well,
What?
what are the implications of assigning to the city this, you know, this marketing person? And how much money would the city need? And I don't think, you know, and how are we going to divvy up the functions here between a marketing function and, you know, the C&D work that the chamber's doing? I don't know.
Well, that's what we were saying was another conversation.
Yeah, and that's.
With information from the city. That's what, you know, Councilman McCollum's been saying
Yeah.
since we sat down.
Yep.
That we didn't have that kind of information.
And
So that's another information.
I don't have any problem with the transition. I don't have any problem with any of this. What's bothering me about the whole thing is you know, throwing a hard number out there when I don't really know what underlies it.
So you're not sure if the dollar amount will cover the
I'm not-
marketing person?
I'm not sure what the dollar amount will cover. Pro or
He's
con.
not confident in the number.
No, I'm not even confident in the numbers I'm looking at here.
We took the marketing person. Oh, excuse
Yep.
me, we took the.
But I feel like we're talking about two different things. I mean, tourism sales director and a marketing director.
They're two different things.
They're two different things.
Yes.
They're two different job descriptions.
Right, you're right. Tricia, you're totally right. You know.
So to me, it's like we're talking about two different issues.
Well, that's why I said I don't need the tourism director as badly as I need the marketing person. If there is clearly different, as we've been talking about, when I weigh which one I need, I don't feel, that's my feeling, that I don't need this tourism director this year. I do need a marketing director. That's what I'm saying.
I still need both. Maybe we need both.
Is that the change, is that the addendum that's going to allow a motion back? Consider that, Madam Howard. Is that going to allow your motion to pass if you would consider?
Of course, I think we should have both, but not tonight. Is only dealing with the budget presented by the chamber,
As a CBD.
working as a CBD. I'm trying to keep this separate. Like, work with me for about 5 days now.
But
on
is
how
there a way to
separate-
do that by approving the tourism director dollars and stating in your motion that because you've said in your motion, you said,
Want the position? No, I'm
let
sorry.
me just clarify. You said in your motion that you wanted the chamber to continue as a CBB.
Yes.
Okay, so is it possible that you would make a motion that a marketing position also be created and it be managed by the city? But the chamber has the tourism person that is working under the chamber. And I think that's what Councilwoman Ledbetter is saying, and that may allow your motion to pass.
Philosophically, I can't support that right now.
Okay.
It wouldn't help me.
Would you give you that marketing person?
She doesn't want
It
a
doesn't- I
chamber,
don't want a tourism
tourism director. I mean, it's very clear.
Okay. So,
We already have a
So-
tourism professional, so use that person.
okay. And have you considered where those dollars are going to come from for that marketing person?
That's a different meeting.
We're at a stalemate here, Council.
And there's 7 people.
Yeah.
As versus 3 and 3 before.
Yeah.
So.
And I would just like to say, because I haven't eaten, if our further discussion includes any reference to food, you said something about tacos a minute ago. Keep food out of it.
You may have to step away
And
from
you
it.
might hit my stomach.
I don't feel pressured to make a definitive dollar amount decision. I mean, I understand the implications for the budget and, and that process, but, I'm appreciative of that. Right now, I'm just not, I don't have enough to make, I think, an informed and correct decision.
Mr. Mayor, is there any way we could ask the chamber, put them on spot and say, look, if you pulled out the marketing director, how much money would you need left to do what you want to do? You have 200, you have 50, how would you reallocate the $55,000?
No, James, no. I said pull it out.
Yeah, take the position out, Would you want the money out too?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
right.
They've already said
I
what
take
they
support for that.
Well, my question, well, it's up to discussion and vote. Vote?
Keep talking, James. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Of the 55,000, let's say the position is gone. The position itself is gone. Now, how would you spend part of all that $55,000?
Well, some of that money would go back into printed advertising. And key to that is that we have this brand initiative coming up. And so Councilwoman Lockhart says that we have a trained professional tourism person. And that is truly correct. But I'm also the chamber president. Successful CVBs have a tourism person in addition to the chamber president, because the chamber person is the person who manages the staff. They're not the ones who are going out and doing the sales. So if we take that away, now you're asking us to do more with less money. And so now we're gonna have to put money back into the printed advertising, because that's what we've been doing in the past, and that's what we're gonna continue to have to do without that tourism salesperson. So that money is gonna have to go back into printed materials, it's gonna have to go back into promotional materials if we want to promote the new brand that we're getting ready to vote on. And then our event promotions would stay the same, and electronic advertising would stay the same, although we would probably want to put more money into our website and put some interactive things on the website that we might not necessarily have done with a salesperson.
How many employees are at this chamber/CBB?
We have, besides myself, we have one full-time office manager who's a chamber,
I'm looking just for a number of.
and then I have a
FTEs.
part-time person.
So you have 2 people.
We have 2.5 people at
Okay.
the chamber.
So we have 2 full-timers and I have a part-time, 1 part-time.
Right.
So that's 2.5 people. Are you counting yourself in that? Okay.
Tammy, you make my head spin. In the whole of last year, your projection for this whole year, you didn't spend $1,000 on printed material and promotional materials. Now, that's gonna be a big part of next year,
Well,
assuming you don't get this money.
right, and I'm sorry, I thought I had explained the reason why we hadn't done that. So let me just remind you that the branding initiative has run longer than we expected it to do. So we expected it to be finished with in February, but because we had challenges getting surveys done and getting input from the community, we extended the amount of time it took us to get the survey. So the branding initiative still is not finalized. We only reached a consensus on moving forward with a certain brand. The printed materials and the promotional materials were in the 2012 budget with the new brand. So we didn't spend that money because we have no new brand to promote. Now, back in March, we didn't know that it was going to take us until June to be able to meet with council to get the brand finalized. So that's why the money wasn't spent. We were holding on to it for the brand initiative. So yes, we did not spend it in 2012 because there was nothing really good to spend it on.
Sounds to me, from what I just heard, that you manage 1.5 persons, which means that this management is two top heads, and the consultant, that Brandon was a consultant. So that was a project. So if we are really gonna talk about this right, are you satisfied, Sandy? I'm not saying to James, with the information that you heard from Shane?
Yes.
Okay. So are we now back at the number that you need to hear? Do you need a number now, Sandy?
I need a little better one than I've got. I'm not even sure what I've got.
It was 164,505 was the one we had earlier. We presented earlier that failed.
At lunch on Friday, Congressman Joe Barton said that we're so divided. I just thought, hey, oh, I'm sorry for reading the food. And I thought, we just need more dialogue. Just need more dialogue, but I'm not convinced that I'm right.
Did you give a number? I couldn't hear the number. Did you give a number?
Should you give them?
I don't remember the number.
A solid number, handed up that, but I would put the money back into printed materials and promotional materials.
So you want 155,000?
Yes, I would love them every
What kind of question is that?
Okay, and why is that?
That's a revelation.
What kind of question is that?
But what we have right here is we know we have a problem. We need to work on language, which is this budget. And they've given us 219. He wants 219 denied. Christine recommended 164. And you wasn't know what else would they do with the money?
Right, because of some of the assumptions, every time you do a budget, the numbers work off each other. So when you do a budget, if you take out a big chunk of the budget, then it affects other pieces. It's not a dollar for dollar offset.
I understand. But Councilman Sandra, again, this budget, 164,505, exceeds last year's budget
That's a budget.
without the position. And the council did not approve the position last year. And I, when I was preparing for the meeting, I looked at that and trying to back into out of, but the 164,505, taking Councilwoman Valentine's amendment, accepting that, we were at 164,505, which exceeds what remained last year after the 55 was delivered.
Last year's budget was 215.
Yeah, we approved 215 last year on the budget.
I thought this was.
That was last year's budget. There was no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it wrong.
Yes, that's last year's budget.
It
has zero in there,
That
yes.
60,000 is not for the market person. This is for the administration.
Excuse me, I know where I am. They didn't use 62.4. You can see I'm getting my numbers. They didn't use
So here's
62.4. I'm sorry.
Here's back 64 from the 215. That's what you do.
They didn't use 62.4. So that's, that's where I'm coming from.
So, for tonight,
Is there any council member who feels that the motion that was made initially has any chance of changing, that they may have a chance of changing their original position? After hearing what you've heard, I'm not looking at the folks who've already voted in favor of it. I'm looking at the folks who voted against it. If anything material has been said, that might change your position. Okay. Well, seeing no indication that anything has changed.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand that, to Sandy's point, if we just deny the budget, then that would put our city budget in jeopardy. Is that what you are saying? What are you saying to us?
Just hold this up.
Delays it.
We can't complete it. It just stays in the proposed state, and when we look at adopt it, there's no number there. We still need a number to adopt. So at some point, we do need to put figures in here for this budget.
If, since we have another meeting on the 21st, if they had a budget for us then, that meeting? Oh, we don't split. Okay, so the reason I asked that question is that would change my answer to go with Councilman Westbrook's.
My motion.
You didn't make one.
I never really quite spit it out.
No. What
he
is
said
deny
deny
it?
it.
Deny it.
Deny it.
Denied, okay.
Just deny it.
You said deny the dollar.
Okay, to close this out, I move that we deny the budget as submitted by the Chamber of Commerce for the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
And can we amend and request that they give us an amended budget for the August 21st meeting?
Yeah, we can request they give us an amended budget.
Motion on the floor is
Second.
by Councilman Westbrook, second by Mayor Pro Tem Valentine.
I have a question.
Yes, question, comment?
Is it possible for y'all to have that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's what?
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That motion passes 6-1. Thank you very much, council. God bless you all. All right.
Now, this is happening on the 21st.
I'm surprised.
On the 21st, it is extremely important that we reach a decisive position on this council. I cannot urge you enough. We have to reach a decision on this. We cannot, I heard a conversation about concerns of our budget not being approved, that puts us in that position. But it also puts the chamber in a position where they cannot plan. And I can't say it enough. This is the #1 advocate for the business community in our city. Whether you like it or not, the Chamber of Commerce is your #1 business advocate. So, if there are no other items tonight, Nick?
I'm sorry, sir.
Are there any other items?
No,
All right, it's 8:43 p.m. Central Standard Time, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming out tonight.
Now that the meeting is over, can anybody explain why there's no urgency to pay the debts from Sojan?
Yes, I'd like an answer to that too.
There's no urgency. Nobody brings it up. And my company is in trouble right now because nobody's paying us the money for the services we provide.
I've left 5 messages at the convention or at the Chamber of Commerce, and I have yet to get a phone call back.
Well, they do have an executive board that's supposed to be responsible for.
I've sent letters
for
to
that.
everybody on the board, including everybody on this board.
Okay.
And I have copies of that letter down if anybody needs one.
From a legal standpoint,
There's no, everybody says there's litigation, there's no litigation. Nobody's filed a lawsuit. You have to file a lawsuit for it to be litigation. There's no litigation. There's no excuse to say there's litigation so we can't talk about it because nobody's filed a lawsuit.
Starting at 5 o'clock.
I think he's probably saying that legally they can't speak as a body if the meeting's adjourned.
No, every time we bring it up, they say they can't speak because of litigation. That's what they've been saying. But there's no litigation, nobody filed a lawsuit.
All right.
No, I'm just letting you, I'm giving you.